So I was playing this yesterday to get a feel for what the high score list should be when someone installs the game, you know, our default high score list, so that someone has something to compare with. And I discovered a bug. So let me just get one more. So at this point, I'm just going to go in circles so that the score doesn't change and I can demonstrate. When I die now, we're supposed to add the score to the high score list on the right. And it should go into slot 3 because it's between 10 and 50. And then 10 should move down, right? So this comes up. We put in our, actually, let's call it oops. Oops. Now, press this button to go to done. Press this button that I'm referring to on my keyboard is Z. If you're playing on a controller, then it's normally the bottom button, either A or B, depending on if you're on Nintendo layout or Xbox layout. But whatever, the primary button, it goes to this. And if I press it again now, it's supposed to save this score and then go to the list of high scores. But it doesn't. Why does it not? If I press it again, it will. But we've now saved the score twice, effectively shunting it down. So if we had gotten the high score, it would have saved the score this many times, in this case 4 times. And it would all be the same high score, and it would create a brick wall that you can never beat, and you won't get any idea of how you're improving. But why? The answer lies in how we check whether we should be adding the high score. Is high score. We check whether our current score is greater than the lowest entry in the high score list. The problem is, if we save our score somewhere other than the bottom entry, this remains true, and we're still going to prompt for a name. So in here, we also check whether score is already added. Now we can do this in one of 2 ways. Either new global, which gets used in one place and only one place, maybe 2 places, which feels like we're polluting the global namespace, you know, with something that shouldn't need to be global, or check whether it's already added. This one is a little bit more arduous. It requires a bit more work, but I think it's a more elegant solution. Because then it future-proofs the app so that if we need to make other changes, the global doesn't accidentally break, or we see the name of the global and think that it means something else and use it the wrong way. Because what I think is high score. If you call is high score, it should tell you new score needs to be added, which implies higher than lowest score in list, but also not yet added. So to do this, this still needs to be checked. If the score is greater than the other thing, then we need to check whether the score exists, return false. Otherwise, return true. But our default behavior, because this is now going to return, this needs to return something. So we're going to return false. If we can't figure out whether the score needs to be added, we just assume that it's not. But in here, we're going to have to write, I guess, to see whether the score exists, we need to check whether the name and the score is the same as the one we just added. Because obviously we've been stuck in the UI, the score wouldn't have changed and the name wouldn't have changed from the values that we're submitting. Right? But to do this, we need to be able to compare our transmogrified name, the way we save it in our new score object, to the way we save it for UI purposes. So this little function that converts it to the scoring format, so that it can save and load properly. What this effectively does is it converts the UI name to game engine data name. And we're now going to need to be able to do this in multiple places. So I want to rip this function out. I guess we can copy paste it into our conditional for isHighScore, but then we've got exactly the same code in two places, and we make a change on one, forget to make a change on the other, and then the code breaks. So it's better to rather make a new function that goes new score.name is equal to, let's call it convert name, using UI entered name. That's how I spelled it, right? Let me just see. Yeah, UI entered name. Okay. Actually, we can trim the spaces as part of it, so both of these lines, because we want to be able to compare the already trimmed name, otherwise they may not match. So now we need to write convert name. So at the bottom of the file where we put our helper functions, trim. Do we really want to trim the left side? Because someone might add a bunch of spaces in the beginning of their name to make it stand out. Why would you deliberately add spaces to the beginning of the name if this thing is just going to take it out? So maybe let's just comment this out. Now my thing is going to do a weirdness again because my keyboard has been acting up. Okay, so we set the left edge to 1 and then just not find the end of the first spaces. Everything else should remain the same. I really shouldn't be making changes like this while I'm busy debugging something else. Anyway, trim, blink, both crappy utilities, they can stay at the bottom. This is where we load our scores because it says load scores. So right in here, new function, call it convert name. We pass it UI name, end. Convert name. In here, we do all this, but we start with a local called return name is equal to blank. Then we manipulate, instead of new score.name, we manipulate return name, and we're I can't words today. We concatenate the values from UI name. Then return name is going to get trimmed to the trimmed version of return name. And then we need to return name. Maybe not the best name for a variable, but that's fine. Make blank name. Convert each letter. Trim spaces. Send it back. There we go. Now we have a function we can call that should theoretically give us a name we can save in our score list, but also give us a name we can compare with the name saved in our score list. Okay. Back to isHighScore. Check whether the score already exists. For index, and let's call this check score in pairs scores, high scores. Do. So for each check score, if check score.name is equal to, now we know this has already been converted, so we need to compare it to convert name for UI entered name, and check score.score is equal to the score we currently have. Then return false, because clearly the score already exists. Right? Otherwise, once we've checked all the names and none of them came back to make it false, then we can return, otherwise return true. The reason I don't do this as an else is because we don't want to return on every iteration. We want this for loop to finish before we assume that there's none of them that are correct, and a for loop can't have an else. So, is this a high score? First we checked, is the score we currently have larger than our lowest score on the high score list? Yes, it is. Oh, but is this score already in the list? Yes, it is. Well, then it's not a high score. Is it not in the list? Okay, then we do need to add the high score. And if this calls and this fails, if the score we have is not even registering on the list, then nope, don't need to save it. Okay, so this function is now a little bit more solid, and it does what we expect it to do. But this function is not used everywhere that we make this check. So let's go to score is greater than high scores, blah, blah, blah. Find that exact line. We hard-coded it somewhere else. Score is greater than high scores, this. In the UI, where we decide whether we're printing high score at the top of the screen, we do this check manually. So in this case, we should also go if is high score. Because we have a function that checks it for us, might as well use that function, then it's consistent, and if we make a change somewhere, it'll change across the board. So what I really should get printed on a t-shirt, if I did my job, nothing should change. Technically something should change, because if we pad the high score name on the left, the padding should stay. But you know what I mean. Unless I broke it. So line 802, we're expecting an end. Go to, that's Control G, or click the little go to button up here. Go to, what did I say? 805. That's the bottom of the file. 802. But either way, it's the bottom of the file. So somewhere we didn't close something. Okay, function, convert name. That's that one. Returns. That for loop returns. Okay, this one is fine. Let's go check, is I scored? It's something I change here, make it not see the bottom of the file. Is I score? Should be on list. For each score. There. That's our missing end. Right? For each is that one. If is that one. Should be on the list is that if, and then that's the end of the function. Hey! Okay, now I need a score of at least 15. Hey, did my ... change into A's? There's another little bug. We'll see if we can figure that out in a second. Okay, there's a score of 10. We need higher than 15. I'm just going to let the combo timer run out so that I don't add too much. So, crap, I did it dumb. I need to get to 15 and then let the timer run out and then score once more so that I add 1 point to it. I do feel I should make that timer shorter. Ooh, that was close. Oh, I'm over the score. Hey, no, what happened? For iterator, expected got null. Line 658. What did I do at line 658? For I and check score in pairs, I score z. Stupid typo. Okay, let's see if I can nail that score of 16. 15. Now look at this. Look how much time I have before the timer becomes a problem. That's way too much time. 16 and boop. Well, that's a different error message. Attempt to concatenate the null field name. Line 771. Go 771. Oh, This is not an embedded object. It's just return name is equal to return name concatenated with a new letter. Slowly but surely we fix our mistakes. Still gonna have to figure out why those A's, the dots were replaced by A's. Okay, now we put in a name. Let's just put a bunch of special characters so that I can test this properly. Okay, and done, and look at that, it works. So now see, everything shows correctly here. If I now refresh it, now the full stops were converted to A's. It's only the full stops that are affected. But why? And that was only when it loaded it from memory. And it's a random one. So it's only the full stops that get replaced by A's. Do I need to escape the full stop? You know, with a backslash? Like we had to do with the backslash? I don't think so. I think it has to do with, because it still displayed it correctly, so it has to do with how the scores are saved. Name for 1 is 1 through 19. So pmem at that slot gets set to a 0, and then setlet name sub. So if this sends whatever the full stop is, then for some reason it comes back as a 1. Why would it come back as, why would it dot come back as a 1? Does sub use regular expressions? Okay, but we're subbing it with a number and a number. Local letter is equal to setlet. What does setlet do? Can I do a dot find without regex? Okay, hold up. Edit Attakk here. When I was editing this thing, I realized that I never explained what a regex is. So regex stands for regular expression. This is just regex of the website that helps you to write these. It is a standard string thing that's almost like a code sequence that can tell your find function, or usually a match function, to match complicated things and often match them more than once. So this expression up here, for instance, this would be a string. So this would have, you know, quotes on either side and get passed to a find function. What this one refers to is it creates a group of capital A to capital Z, Z, followed by word letters of any length. So -w plus, and this means that it's global. This G means that it's global. So throughout this example piece of text that they have in here, you'll see that every word that starts with a capital letter and is a word until it matches something that is not a word character is a potential match. So the word regexer is a match. Edit, because capital E is a match. Even PCRE, which is all capitals, still conforms to our expression of capital letter followed by 3, for a lack of a better term, word letters. Now the problem with regular expression is that the code to make this work in the background is like 4,000 lines or something ridiculous. So Lua does not implement this because it would make the Lua library bigger, and it would make the TIC-80 installer bigger, and when this runs it uses quite a bit of processing power, not like that you would notice on a modern machine, but more than Lua is ideally supposed to. So Lua has this thing called patterns. This is from the Lua's actual documentation. Patterns are similar to regular expressions but simplified. So for instance, there is a string.find function in there, right? It's searching this string S, which is this string, the deadline is that thing, firm, for a date. What is date? Date is a string that says, and this is our pattern or regular expression, it says it's finding a digit, so numbers, then a slash, digit, digit, slash, digit, 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 digit. So when it searches date in this entire string of text, it would only match that bit because it goes digit, digit, slash, digit, digit, slash, digit, 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 digit. Now, this is awesome, super useful, but what was making our game find an A instead of, the full stop later on in our string is because the following table lists all character classes, and the first one in the list is that a dot, a full stop, matches all characters. So we executed string.find, it looked for all characters and immediately matched the first character, which is the A, and that's why it was returning an A. So back to what I was saying. We can turn off, this is me reading from the luausers.org wiki. We can turn off the pattern matching feature by using the optional fourth argument, plain. Plain takes a Boolean value and must be preceded by index. So find that letter from index 1, that's Lua, and plain is true. That should fix it. I need a score of higher than 15 to test it. It's a good thing that we found this bug, because this bug led us to another bug. I just need a score above 15. There's 15, let the timer run out, which again takes forever. There we go. And okay, but let's do a dot, comma, dash, space, what's that thing, a backtick, apostrophe, semicolon, /, and okay, everything shows the way it's supposed to. And now if I reset the cartridge, the dots are still dots. Okay, so bug fixed and found by fixing another bug. But hey, did we just successfully test our feature? Did we just... Oh no, it was the last one in the list, so no, it didn't test our feature. So we need to get a score above 28 so that it enters it in a random spot. Assuming I can play my own game. I don't think we should add a sound for the timer running out, the combo timer running out, because you can look over and see it, but I don't want to distract from the flow of the game if you're in a flow state by, making extra noises. It's kind of a minimalist game, especially because the sound's just going to get overridden by whatever other sound is playing, unless we send it a particular channel, and to send it a particular channel we also need to send it a frequency. It's a whole thing. So I'm just not going to bother adding that sound. Oh, I can probably score. I got distracted. Let's make this if you think it takes long to enter a score like this, you clearly never owned a Game Boy. And it works. Now it shows our score there. We can still see the score we had, the combo that we had when we died. We can, if we wanted to. At the moment we're saving the score as the first value in persistent memory, and then the next bunch of characters is the name, which is 9 characters long. If we wanted to, we can nudge all of them over 1, make the name 8 characters, and then also save the highest combo. But then it becomes too much information to save in here. But we know that we successfully found the exact score with the exact same name as we currently have in the input box behind the scenes in our list, which means until we play again, our score that we just scored exists on the high score list, so it won't prompt us for the name anymore. This does create the freakish situation where you can get exactly the same score as you did on a previous run, and it won't prompt you to save the name, but I consider that not a bug but a feature, because it means that I already have that score on the list. I don't want the whole list to all become the same score and become a brick wall that I can't beat. So I actually think that's a good thing. Now, what do we make these values? We said we were going to store 5 of them as a nice list. That's a nice number of high score thingies to save. We can actually make it 10 as well. I think we have enough space. With 10, we have a lot of range. So, how difficult is it to get up to a score of, say, 50? If we don't clear the timer, we get to 50 with 45 is on the 9th score. That's maybe a little bit extreme. So let's put our lowest possible score on this list. I'm just going to die quick. The lowest score on here, which I think we can make it 10. I think we have like 25 save spots that we can use, because 256 possible variables and 10 for each. We make it something like 20, then 50, then 100, then 500, then 1000. Yesterday I comfortably got to 990, but I was playing on a keyboard and the combo meter is still a bit long. So let's quickly go to, where do we create our starting high scores if we don't have any high scores? Here, high scores, this list. Let's make this 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's make this 10 entries long. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we go from, say, 20, 50. That's probably fine. Okay. Then I just need to, I'm going to quickly make sure my cartridge is saved. I'm going to load my clear function, which is set to clear classic snake. It doesn't really matter what scores are on your own machine. This is for me to test whether it's saving properly. Although I guess you might need to do it yourself. Okay, and now if I run it, now if I run, what am I doing? Load snake. Now if I run it, we have this, up to 10. It all fits in the UI, there's no issues. Okay, names for these things. I don't know. Jack, John, Peter, Alice. Let's use a gender neutral name, Jordan. Elijah, why not? Sally. I'm just making up names. If I had Patreon backers, I could use names from that or something. Serve when? I don't know. Cthulhu. Danny. Doesn't really matter what they are. There we go. Hi, it's Attakk again. I'm making a lot of appearances in this video. So I noticed that this last one on our high score over here, Danny, is nudged over by 1 because this is the first number that's a double digit. So we're going to fix that quick. Now this happens in draw high scores, right? When we print the high score to the screen, we just grab the index as a numerical value and print it, which means when it's 1 digit, the length is 1. To fix that, we're going to make a new local variable, call it padded, and then save the string representation of our integer in it. So this is a number, which allows our loop to work. This is a string, which allows us to edit it like it's text. Okay. Then if the length, that's a hashtag, the typeface, the font looks a little funny. If the length of iPadded is less than 2, theoretically I can go equals to 1, but less than 2 is more redundant, I feel. Then always add the end. Do we pad left or pad right? Let's pad the left. Then iPadded becomes a space with concatenating the original value, like such. So make it a string. Then if the length of it is less than 2, then we add a space to the front of it, concatenating the original number. So this will happen for 1 through 9, but not for 10, because the length of 10 would be 2, so this would fail. And then instead of just printing I, we print iPadded. Okay, that's much better. See, now it all lines up neatly. Now, of course, because I'm doing this after the fact, for the rest of the video, this is going to look wrong. But now you've seen what it looks like to fix it, and you can fix it in your own version when you get to this point, and then it'll look better going forward. Anyway, what was I doing? Maybe Jack and John is a bit much. Oh, it's fine. Okay, we don't need this trace anymore. We need to disable our debug button. So in TIC inputs game, in inputs game we check whether we are in, where do we check whether we're in debug? Here we go. If debug mode, keep there. If key press 44, then debug mode. We need to disable debug mode. So we don't change the debug mode. We don't print that we're going to debug. But then we put a message saying, do we even need to? No, it can just silently fail. Players shouldn't even need to know that the backtick does anything. And then this will always be false. So that disables our debug button. So run it quick. Button does nothing. It doesn't matter, because on a console you wouldn't even have that button on your controller, or if you're playing with a controller you wouldn't even have that button. You would need to press it on a keyboard. If you're playing in web, maybe you can, but who knows? People are weird. They find things around it, because if you could play the entire game in debug, it'll be easy to beat the high score, although you're only really competing with yourself, so I don't see why you would. Okay, but I think we are ready to publish. So let's make sure all our information at the top here is right. Classic title, Snake. Let's call it Classic Snake. Author is me. Basic description. The description says basic implementation of Snake for the YouTube tutorial. Link to the YouTube tutorial, which I know it's bit.ly, but it's fine. My Creative Commons license. This is version 0.16. Because technically we're still in alpha. I don't know. If we want to publish it proper, we can make it 1.0. And then our save ID is Classic Snake. Oh, we wanted to change the length of the combo timer. Combo timer is combo max time. I'm just going to go times 1.6. Just make, no, 1.7. Let's make it a little shorter. That's a quick one. Okay. And this is now ready to publish. If you want to see how to publish this on the TIC-80 website, you can check the last episode of the Pong tutorial where we go through it in detail. It's still all described nicely in there. Everything applies to this. It's just a .tic file, this .tic file that you upload on the website and you put in a bunch of info. One more thing that I can do is the cover image, the thumbnail that shows on the game page. So let's just get the game going, move the mouse out of the way, get it to exactly how we want it to look. Say score a few times so that our combo meter gets nice and high. I'm bad at my own game. I want the cherry to be the thing. Okay, so like this, and then F7. See, it says cover image saved. So that is now the image for our cartridge when it gets uploaded to the website. And then I believe we're done. If you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to comment on any of the videos wherever they are relevant. I will address it either in the comments if it's something simple. If it's a little bit more complex to explain, then I'll make a short, because if one person asks, there's a pretty good chance that other people would ask as well. So it's good to have it answered in a visual manner. And then that's it. I hope to see you soon on the next one, or hope you see me soon, I guess. And just for the final hurrah, let's play the game, but with the CRT filter on. That's F6, by the way, because this looks awesome if you're into old-fashioned retro games. Damn it. Why am I so bad at my own game?